Guys, welcome back to the 21 Convention. Our next speaker up is Matt Hussey. You can find him at matthewhussey.com. He's already spoken in London this year. He had an awesome speech. He's come back to talk to you guys in Orlando. Before he comes on stage, though, Anthony's going to have a special word about him. Anthony, please come on stage.
Hey, guys. Still a little bit out of breath. Bear with me. Get through this. Our next speaker up is Roman spoke first in London. Did an incredible job. At that time, I forgot to do an introduction form that I really wanted to do, so I'm doing it here. To put it succinctly, I read a quote once that once in a generation, you have certain types of men born. And when I saw a video before I even met Matthew Hussey, and then especially once I met him and saw him speak, I knew I was right in my assertion that, in my opinion, and by my judgment, Matthew Hussey is the Anthony Robbins of the 21st century, or of our generation. I say that because of seeing him speak and meeting him, and looking back at Anthony Robbins when he was about Matt's age in his 20s. So, not to put him in Anthony Robbins' shadow, but Matthew Hussey is an incredibly intelligent young man, and it's an honor to have him here. And I really do believe that he is the next Anthony Robbins, the one from our generation. Thanks for coming again, Matt. Appreciate it. Kick some ass.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm very humbled by my introduction, also very frightened by my introduction because it's extremely difficult to follow, but I'm going to do my best. To give you a little bit of background on who I am and why I'm even up here, and I'm not going to go into a big history of where I started, but I've been coaching people now despite being pretty fresh-faced. I've been coaching people now for a considerable amount of time. And in that time, I've coached everyone, from individuals from every country in the world to, and this is one-to-one, I've coached thousands of people. In seminar, I've worked with many more thousands of people across the world. I've worked with individuals from huge corporations all the way down to students who are trying to find their way in the world. That coaching with individuals led me to coaching a lot of corporates. I started working with big companies. I've worked with the likes of Procter & Gamble, Morgan Stanley, Accenture, all the way through to huge brands like Hugo Boss, Bare Essentials. I just came off a stint in Munich where I was working with Christina Aguilera on her new fragrance. So I've been doing some incredible things recently with all sorts of incredible people. And I genuinely say that not to impress you, but I say it because if we're listening to anybody in life, I think it's important that we listen to people that on some level are achieving what we want to achieve. When we choose role models, we have to choose them very, very carefully. And I don't ask you to make me your role model, but I would ask you, for the moment at least, to put your trust in me and see what I might have to share. Everyone in this room has a special talent, has a special ability. If I asked everyone in this room what you were good at, what you knew about, where your knowledge extended to, you would give me an image of what you have spent a lot of time doing. Because what we tend to spend most time doing in life, we tend to get good at. And so I know that everyone in this room has something to teach me. Everyone in this room has something to share with me. I'd love on another day to spend more time with you and have you mentor me, have you teach me something. Today, what I've been asked to share with you is a subject that I feel like I now know a little bit about, and I'm going to try and give you, in my limited experience, what I've found to be true in this area. So the area that I'm going to be talking about is the psychology of entrepreneurship. What does it really mean to be an entrepreneur, and how do you get ahead as an entrepreneur? Now, I have to tell you, my usual coaching isn't in this area. My usual coaching, I run everything from programs where we spend a weekend learning how to be people who can be magnetic, how you can draw people in, how you can walk into a room and instantly meet everyone, work a room, how you can network, how you can be a compelling man, how you can be someone who conveys your point with interest. All this stuff I do in a program called Impact. I also do retreats. So I take people away for 5 days to exotic locations, and we work on every part of their life, from their relationships to their finances to their body, you name it, we work on everything. My programs have extended in all different areas. Today is an area that I haven't spent years talking about, and the reason is the years that I've spent coaching in other areas have made me feel like I have something to share with you in this area, because I didn't set out to learn business. I set out to follow my passion. Business was something that intrigued me, it was something that interested me, but the truth is, business is something that was necessary for me. Because I loved coaching, I loved speaking, and that love had to be put somewhere. I had to be able to do something with it. Now, the perhaps fortunate and unfortunate fact when you love something and you really want to do it with your life is that sometimes it's difficult to just do it. It would be nice if life was as easy as just deciding what you love and then doing that your whole life. But when people talk about that, just do what you love, what they're missing is there's a skill set aside from what you love that enables you to do what you love. If you don't know that skill set, it's very difficult to do what you love, because we live in a real world where there are real expenses, real bills to pay, real responsibilities, and we can't just avoid all those to do what we love. It's not practical. People talk about it like money doesn't matter, money doesn't matter, money doesn't matter. In our world, it does. Money doesn't matter for happiness, because past a certain point, and studies have shown that past a certain point, money doesn't affect happiness. Right? Once you're at a certain level of comfort, money doesn't affect happiness. Before that level of comfort, money can have a massive impact on happiness. I grew up in a family that was kind of a roller coaster financially. You know, we weren't the sob story, someone you played the violin for, but, you know, one day we'd have everything and the next day we'd have nothing. That was the nature of our work. My father was a property developer, and that meant that it was kind of like up and down, up and down, up and down. And I knew that money did affect things in the times when we didn't have any, because suddenly people feel out of control. People feel scared. People feel like they can't enjoy life because they can't relax, because they can't pay this bill. So I think money does matter. I don't think it's everything, but I think money does matter. And when you have a passion and it's difficult to make any money from that, it can be difficult to really enjoy that passion. And I want to make a case today for learning business so that you can enjoy your passion. Not learning business for the sake of it. Learning business so that you can enjoy your passion. Because I know everyone in this room has something they love doing. And maybe they haven't even discovered that yet. But you have something you would love doing. And you want to be in a position where when you find that thing, or if you have it already, you can go out and you can live that passion, and you can do it in a way that keeps producing for you. Because that's the key in life. Can I make my passion work for me? So when I started, I realized I want to be a coach, but I can't just coach. And even if I could just coach, even if I go out and coach people for free, I've still got to find a way to live. Now, if I can do both, brilliant. For some people, they'll go half and half for a while, and then they'll end up doing the thing that they love, but not until they can actually make money from the thing that they love. For me, it was quite a steep transition from one to the other. And in doing that, I learned a hell of a lot about starting something. One of the immediate things that I learned is that there is a massive conflict between getting good at what you do, getting good at your passion, and getting good at benefiting from that passion. There's a conflict. I'll explain. And by the way, I want to preface this talk by saying there are people out there who are far more wealthy than I to listen to on this subject. I am humbled by the fact that I'm speaking to you about this subject, and I certainly don't profess to be someone who knows everything about business. I've created a business that many people would love to be able to create in the time that they live, and I'm very proud of that. But I come to you today not standing here to be an expert on all things business. I come to you as someone who actually feels humbled by the process of trying to get good at that, because I found it to be one of the most challenging areas of my entire life. And I want to show you some of the mistakes that I've made and share with you some of the things that I've learned along the way. I found that there was a big conflict between my passion and the ability to produce from that passion. A big conflict. Because when I started out, and I see this pattern now in many people who have a passion. You see it in people who start a business because they're passionate about creating something. You see people who are passionate because they're a personal trainer and they love training, or they're a nutritionist and they love nutrition, but now they've got to go out and actually produce from it. Now, the set of skills that it takes to get good at your passion can be very different from the set of skills that it takes to sell and market that passion. And often, people who are passionate about something, ironically, find it difficult to sell it. It's funny, because what we say is the most passionate salespeople are the best salespeople. Isn't that true? The most passionate salespeople are the best salespeople. If I'm passionate, I can sell. Do you know why? Because I believe in it. Like, I can stand here in front of you for the next hour and sell every one of my programs to you, and I won't be ashamed. I could stand here and do it every minute, and I could sell hard, and I would still be proud of what it is I'm selling. And in that respect, you should be passionate about what you're selling. However, many people who are passionate about something aren't good at selling it. And the reason is they don't see themselves as salespeople. They don't see themselves as salespeople. I believe in mentors in life. I get mentors in every area of my life. One area I get a mentor is in my body. So I've had for some time now different personal trainers who work with me on my body, and a pattern that I've noticed in the personal trainers that I've worked with is they are not good at selling themselves. Now, this isn't true of every trainer, but the fact is they got into personal training because they were passionate about personal training. I want you to think of an area that you're passionate about, that one day maybe you dream of having a business there. Maybe you already have. Maybe you've already started on this road. And think of the passion that you have and whether you truly see yourself alongside that as a salesperson. Because if you start a business, you are now a salesperson. And that's a difficult thing for many people to reconcile. Because if I'm a trainer, if I'm a personal trainer, I love personal training. That's what I do. I'm a personal trainer. I'm not a salesperson. And many people look down on salespeople. Many people look down on salespeople like that's a bottom of the barrel job. You know, I'm not a salesperson. I'm not one of those marketers. I'm not a salesperson. Well, the truth is, there's never a time in life where we're not selling. Never. I love selling. I love the process of selling. I love the idea of selling. I love sales. The reason I love sales is you can't afford not to like sales in life. When you walk into a room at a party and you want to come across well, you want to make new friends, you want a girlfriend, you want to have someone to get attracted to you, you're selling. The entire evening, you're selling. You may not think of it that way, and we don't, but we're selling. I'm selling when I put on my best clothes to go out. I'm selling when I iron my shirt. I'm selling when I put on my cologne. I'm selling with everything I do to take care of myself so that I can create the right impression. Whenever I'm with my family and I'm trying to convince them to see my way of thinking because we're having an argument and I want them to understand what I'm trying to tell them, I'm selling. I'm selling an idea. When I'm with friends and I'm arguing and I'm debating and I'm trying to win this argument, I'm selling. I'm selling you my point of view. If I'm in a business, if I'm in a big corporation and I'm trying to work my way up that ladder, I'm selling. I have to sell you on the idea that I should be here instead of here. When I want a pay rise, I'm selling. I'm selling you on the idea that I'm worth this much, not this much. When I go to a new corporation and I go for an interview and I want that job, I'm selling. Every moment of our lives, in some way, shape, or form, we are selling. We can't afford not to like selling. When people say to me, I'm not a salesperson, I say, well, you're never going to get what you want in life. Because how can you get what you want if you can't sell something, if you can't sell yourself, if you can't sell an idea? Now, you may not be selling because, my traditional idea of a salesperson when I was growing up was the guy selling double glazing, like selling windows, and that would be my idea. Now, what that really describes is the person who's selling something that they really can't stand, someone who's selling something that they don't like. But when it comes to selling, A, the best product we'll ever be able to sell, which is ourselves, and B, whatever product or service it is we're passionate about in the world, which may be outside of us, is a far more enjoyable experience. And I would argue that we have to, it is essential to learn to love that process, to be in love with that process. Now, many people aren't. And when I started out, I wasn't necessarily a fantastic salesperson, which meant that I had my passion, which was coaching, which had nothing to do with sales, or so I thought, and I had how to actually live from that. Now, there's a conflict there. There's not just a conflict in mindset, there's a conflict in time. Whatever it is you would choose to do if you had a business, there's a conflict between getting good at what it is that business is selling, i.e. the product, and the ability to sell that product. There is a conflict. The problem is, most people, when they start out, they keep getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better at delivering the product. Let me work more on the product. The product needs work. Let me work more on the product. Let me work more on the product. Let me work more on the product. And that becomes, even though it's a noble thing, isn't it? It's a noble thing to work on the product. It's a noble thing to work on what it is you're selling, what it is you're trying to be an entrepreneur in. It's a noble thing to work on the product. But the problem is, that's often to the detriment of actually getting the thing out there. That's to the detriment of actually doing it, of starting. And often what I've found is, what is disguised as a noble motive in working on the product, working on the product, working on the product. I'm a perfectionist, I'm a perfectionist, I'm a perfectionist. I have to have it right, I have to have it right, I have to have it right. This product has to be beautiful, it has to be everything. I want to provide such a great service. What is disguised as that noble motive is actually avoidance activity. Avoidance activity, because the truth is, at some point, I'm going to have to get out there and actually sell someone this thing. Someone is going to have to want to buy it. Now, if I'm passionate about the product or the service, it's easier to work on the product or the service than to work on actually selling it. So I keep working on the product or service. And there are many, many, many businesses every single day who go out of business, who have a fantastic product or service that they've been working on since day one, but they can't get it out there because they either can't or they won't sell it. I literally just came from running a 5-day retreat in Florida. That's why I happened to be here this weekend. I was running a 5-day retreat here in Florida. And we take people to this beautiful place, like an unbelievable paradisal villa with 50-foot lake pools and hot tubs and cinema rooms, and it's just beautiful. And we take people to a really inspirational environment where they start to think of everything that they want in their lives, everything that their life is going to be about, every strategy, every goal, and every ritual that's going to get them there. And we had one woman on this retreat who wanted to start her own business. And she told me about this business that she wanted to start, and she was so excited about it. She said, and it's going to be about this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm so excited, and I can't wait because people are going to love what I have to offer. And I said, so what's your next move? She said, well, I'm going to design my website, and I'm going to get business cards, and I'm going to get premises, and I'm going to basically set up everything, set up the accounts, set up the corporation, set up the legal entity of the company. And she described all these things that were going to cost her money and time. When we actually looked at it, it was a few £1,000s, I should say dollars, worth of investment to start this thing. Now, afterwards, I said, how are you going to sell it? And she said, well, once I've got the money to make the product really, really good, and I've done that, and I've worked really hard on that, then obviously I can start going into places and selling it. I argued to her, and I will argue this for most businesses that start, sell the thing first. Sell the thing first. Even if it doesn't exist, sell the thing first. You might have an idea for a time machine, and you know how to do it. It's going to take you a year. It's going to take you $5 million worth of investment. But you know how to do it. Still go and sell it first. Go out there, speak to someone, find out if someone wants a time machine. Ask them, sit them down, pitch them a time machine. Tell them you've already got it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to take their money. Pitch them on it, pitch them on it, pitch them on it. And at the end of the meeting, if they say, I'll write you a check for that right now, you could say, brilliant, I'll see you in a year. Don't give me any money yet, but I'll see you in a year. Now you know you can sell it. Now you know you can sell it. If you want to be a coach, if you want to be a nutritionist, if you want to be a personal trainer, if you want to be an accountant, if you want to be a mechanic, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Call someone up and try and sell them on it. And if at the end of the call they say, where can I give you my credit card details? What cards do you take? At that point, you know you can put money into it. In fact, what I would argue is if the business doesn't require any money to start up, i.e. if there's not stock to have, sell it first and then deliver it. And don't use any money for that business other than the money you make from that business. Now, in every business, that's not realistic. In some businesses, that's not realistic because you need stock. But even then, there's no point buying a warehouse, filling it with stock, and then going, okay, now I need customers. People go out of business and ruin their life savings every single day making this mistake. Because they get so excited about an idea, and then they go out and they realize that they either don't know how to sell it or people don't want it. And it's a horrible place to be. Business doesn't have to be as risky as people make it out to be. Small business does not have to be as risky as people make it out to be. If you're in a job right now and you're considering leaving, in the time that you have outside of the job, try selling the thing that you want to sell. Don't create it, just try selling it. Don't create it, just try selling it. If you know people want it, you already know how much money you can make from it, for now. Now you can go and spend time doing it because you know that it's worth the investment. But what we do is we get excited by an idea, and then we keep driving forward that idea before we've got any evidence that it will work. There is a conflict between working on the product and selling the product. Now, what I found, and this won't be everyone's experience, but what I found is when I first started, something that pained me was the realization that I couldn't work on the product in normal hours. Because every waking moment in normal hours had to be spent actually having and growing a business. Working on the product had to happen on my own watch. Working on the product, working on the service had to happen on my own watch. And that killed my social life for a while. It killed every part of my life outside of my business. But what it meant was that tons of people who were trying to do the same thing I did went out of business because they spent all of the best hours where you could be talking to prospects working on the product. Whereas I spent the best hours talking to prospects, and I spent my own time, either late at night, early in the morning, weekends, whenever I could find, working on the product. Every minute you could spend talking to prospects is precious. And unless that time is spent, it doesn't matter how much we work on the product, we won't have a product in a year's time or 5 years' time. We'll be one of those people who look back and said, I tried to start a business once. And I still have this really great product that no one knows about. We have to start. I honestly believe that product development and sales should not be an equal measure when you start. Sales should occupy the majority of your time, and working the product takes up this amount of time. Because you know, if you get more sales, you've got more money, you've got more time, you can spend more time on the product. So there is a conflict between the product and the ability to sell that product. Now, what I also notice is when people start, they get very caught up on the exact thing they start in. They get very caught up, what exactly do I start in? And they worry about that consistently. Where do I start? Where do I start? Where do I start? I've got like 10 ideas for products. Which one do I do first? I've got like 10 ideas for businesses. Which one do I do first? And they don't know. So they go around in circles asking every single person what they should do. Should I do this? Should I do that? Where's the market right now? Where's the market going? And they spend all of their time thinking about this idea. But it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I want us to imagine for a moment every successful person that you know. The successful people you know, maybe the people you actually know or the people that you know from the news, from the media. What we find about these people is that their career is never a straight line. Almost never is their career a straight line. It doesn't go, imagine right now that your goal, your big image is this balloon up here. And here's ground level. And someone stands there looking up at this balloon, going, oh, that's what I want. And they want to get that. They want it so badly, and all they can see is the distance that they'd have to jump to get that balloon. And so what happens is people get stagnant. They don't go anywhere because they're so busy focused on that one balloon that they can't get there. The people that I've coached who have gone on to become incredibly successful have zigzagged, sidestepped, they've moved around, and they've found a way to get to where they want to go, but it didn't necessarily start in the area where they wanted to go. I think people panic far too much about what my passion is. What's my passion? People say it as well. What's your passion? Do that. What's your passion? Do that. What's your passion in life? Do that. Well, the truth is, everyone in this room has different passions. How many people in this room, by a show of hands, have more than one passion? So if you choose your passion, oh, this is my passion in life, and you just go with that, you're already limiting yourself because there are so many things in life that you would love doing. I'm passionate about tons of things. I'm passionate about traveling. I'm passionate about coaching. I'm passionate about speaking. I'm passionate about friendship. I'm passionate about food. I'm passionate about films. I'm passionate about music. I'm passionate about so many different things. Why would I sit there and try and decide what my life's destiny is? Why would I sit there and try and work out what's my one true calling? I don't believe it exists. Our calling in life. That's something that people say when they've found something they really love doing, but it scares the shit out of people who don't know what to do with their lives yet. What do you mean my calling, my calling, my calling? I don't know what my calling is, and all it does is make these people over here feel really good, and these people feel like they don't have purpose in their lives because the job they're doing right now isn't something that they feel like could be their calling. But I don't think life works like that. I think that we're passionate about certain things in life, and I think we need to fulfill certain criteria in order to be happy. But I also believe you can fulfill that criteria in any one of 1,000 different paths. I love what I do, but I'm not closed-minded enough to think that this is the only thing I could do that would make me happy. I know that there are many different things I could do that would make me happy. I'm lucky enough, fortunate enough to have found one. And you know what? As long as that makes me happy, I'll go with it and I'll keep expanding. And as long as I can keep growing, I'll enjoy it. But if I stop enjoying it, then my path might change. So if you're in this room right now and thinking, I don't know what my calling is, I don't know what my passion is, I don't know what business to start, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. Where you start isn't where you're going to end up. In fact, I've come to believe that it's more successful to just, it's more beneficial rather, to just get successful at something. Just get successful at something. Because what I've found to be true in so many areas is when someone gets successful at something, that credibility allows them to do 1,000 other things. Does this make sense? If I'm successful at something, that credibility allows me to do so many different things. I started out wanting to be a coach. I just thought I want to work with people. And I want to help people get to their goals in life. I want to help people get more confident, more inspired, and get to where they want to go. Now, in the process of all of this, I have been asked to go on TV a couple of times, right? In the beginning, in the early days, I get asked to go on TV a couple of times. I go on TV and I prove myself there. Okay, he can be on TV. What now happens is a whole bunch of TV people look at me and they go, oh, he didn't blow anything up. It was okay. Because the way TV works is you'll notice that TV doesn't work on the basis of if you're really likable and talented, you're on TV. It doesn't work on that basis. TV works on the basis of he or she got on there and didn't blow anything up and can prove that they can deliver a job safely, especially in the news and commentary and stuff like that. They prove that they can deliver, therefore we'll have them back again. If you look on major news networks and stuff like that, you'll realize there are people on there that you can't stand. Every time they come on TV, you're like, oh my God, how can they not find someone more charismatic than this? How can they not find someone more likable than this? But the truth is they're there because last time they did it, they didn't blow anything up. Maybe they had a connection there, that's fine. But when they got there, they still had to prove they were a safe pair of hands. Now, what happened for me is I went on TV a couple of times and people saw, this guy is a safe pair of hands. This guy can deliver. So now I start getting requests just for presenting jobs. Like, Matt, do you want to come and present this? Do you want to come and present that? Now, that wasn't something that I knew I would enjoy doing because I enjoy being on TV for a purpose. I don't enjoy just being there. I like being there for a purpose. So I didn't take it. But it gave me a whole new angle to my career. If I wanted to go off and be a presenter at that point, I could have done because it gave me options. The first time in my business I got a huge PR event was because Hugo Boss came to me and said, right, we have a new fragrance out. Now, we would like someone to come and talk about this fragrance and how it relates to attraction. So can you come and talk about that? Because I'd coached over 5,000 guys in my life on attraction, and they said, well, can you come and do this and give some tips relating to the fragrance? I said, sure, no problem. I go there, I deliver the event. I don't blow anything up. It all goes okay. And they go, oh, this guy actually is pretty good in PR events. So now, all of a sudden, I get all sorts of requests to do PR events. Come and do this event, come and do that event. We've got this product launch, we've got this new line of this or whatever. Come and do that. And I ended up working on stuff that was completely outside of the realm of my expertise, but I got it because I proved I was a safe pair of hands in that area. So what happens is you just get credibility and then that jumps again. You get credibility and then that jumps again. You get credibility and that jumps again. The thing that I did in Munich with Christina Aguilera, that came from the fact that originally, once upon a time, I did a PR event and proved I didn't blow anything up. And now I get to work with one of the biggest names in the world because I'm trusted in that area. Now, how closely related is that to my coaching when you think about it? Me going to the fragrance launch of her new fragrance and working with her and interviewing her, how close to that is it? How close is that to my core work? It pretty much has nothing to do with it. And yet, because I can go and deliver, they'll ask me back. And no doubt in next 3 months, 6 months, other things like that will come through. So I think it's important just to get successful at something. Just to get successful at something. One of my mentors, when I started, a few years back, I started an organization for women. And the idea was that I was going to help women in their love lives too. Because I coached tons of guys, and then I decided, right, well, we might as well do something for women. So we had an organization called Get the Guy, which actually started working with women in their love lives too. Now, my one big fear with that was that although I loved it, and although I was good at coaching it, I was worried that I might end up there, that would be the only thing that I would do. And I knew that I did business coaching, and I worked with people in their organizations, on their confidence, on their finances. I was worried that that was the only thing that I would do. As it happens, that one little thing, becoming successful there, allowed me to do all sorts of other things that were completely unrelated to that. In fact, one of my mentors at the time said to me, because I had this moment where the thing that I was saying, okay, I like this now, but I don't want to be there for my whole life. The thing that I was doing there, I was concerned because this was growing and growing and growing. And there was this whole area over here that I loved that wasn't growing at the same rate. Like, what's happening? This one thing that I've got is getting so much PR, is getting featured on TV, is getting broadcast everywhere. I had full-page spreads in the biggest newspapers in the UK. And I was like, I was frustrated. You know, I had the Independent, which is one of the largest papers in the UK. One morning, as I was kind of freaking out a little bit because this thing was growing so fast, and I knew that I didn't want to be trapped there my entire life, I was concerned, and I was going, everyone's going to know me for this. This is what I do. Isn't this a problem? That day, the Independent ran a full-page spread with this huge picture of me on the front, and it said, "The Love Guru." And I freaked. I freaked because I was like, that's not who I am. That's not who I am. And I called up the people that were closest to me that gave me advice, and I was like, this is national now. Everyone is going to start calling me that. This is what I am to everyone now. And my mentor, one of the people that I trust the most, someone who's really helped me in my work, said to me, "You're losing perspective. If you show people that you can take an idea and you can make it into something big, you haven't just shown that you're extremely good at delivering that content. What you have shown is that you are actually a successful business person too. And if you show people that you're a successful business person, then you appeal all of a sudden to a whole world of people who are successful in business or want to be successful in business, who don't want to work in their love lives, who want help in their businesses. And because you've shown that, you'll be able to show people that. I laugh when I look back at that now, because look at what I'm talking to you about today. I could have been, so easily, Anthony could have invited me to come and speak here on people's love lives, because I've done a hell of a lot of that. And he didn't. He said, "Can you come and deliver a talk on entrepreneurship? It fascinates me." And I look back and I go, my mentor was absolutely right. This has allowed me to do things in every area of life that I never would have got to do unless I'd become successful at that. So don't become too proud about what it is you do in the beginning. Get good at something. Get successful at something. Just being successful at that will allow you, let's say you get successful over here, and you get altitude here by being successful at that. And then there's this other thing that's taken me on this path over here, and that's shot me up again. Once you're here, it's much easier to sidestep than it is to climb in the first place. It's much easier to sidestep than to climb in the first place. Because I see it all the time. Once you get successful at something, people look at you and they go, "I trust him over here because I knew he could do that. I trust him here because I know he's successful at that." Credibility is a massively important factor. Credibility. Next, take any opportunity. And by the way, this applies not just to you if you're starting a business or if you want to. It also starts if you work in a corporation. Take any opportunity, no matter how big or small, no matter what it is. And I'll go further by saying, take any opportunity in the area of work that you want to be in. Take any opportunity in the area of work you want to be in. In my experience, this is going to sound, there's no elegant way of me saying this, so I'm just going to say it how it's in my head. Stuff leads to stuff. If you do stuff, you'll get more stuff. Just do stuff. Find an area where you want more stuff. And then do more stuff in that area. And if there's an area where you want less stuff, do less stuff in that area. I have found this to be true everywhere. If I want more coaching, do more coaching. If I want more speaking opportunities, do more speaking. If I want more PR, do more PR. Just do stuff in an area where you want stuff. If I want more women in my life, just do that more. Go out there and do it more. If I'm a woman and I want more men in my life, just do that more. Whatever area we do least stuff in, we'll have least stuff in. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's the way I've seen it. I look at that Christina Aguilera event. I look at working with her and I go, where did that come from? It just came from doing stuff in a world of PR that led to that. And when I started doing stuff in that area, it wasn't big stuff. You start by doing small stuff in that area, and then you become trusted for that stuff, and then people give you more of that stuff, and now you're doing more of that stuff. Now you become known for that stuff, and then you get more stuff like that. Just do stuff. Just do stuff. That's it. That's just how it works. That's how I see it work everywhere. One of the first times that I came to the States for work, I had been dreaming of coming to the States for work. Isn't it funny how you always dream of working somewhere you didn't start? I came here and I was eating breakfast in the hotel this morning, and the guy said, how do I get to London? I've always wanted to go and work in London. Like, I grew up in London, and how do I get to America? How do I get somewhere else? And I grew up thinking I would love to work in the States. And I remember thinking, how the hell am I ever going to make this a reality? Now, when I started, I decided I want to book. I just need to go there for a reason. If I could go there for a reason, then I'd feel like I'd feel like something was happening there. And so in the beginning, all I did was call someone up and say, hey, do you want to interview me? And they didn't even really know who I was. And I said, well, I do this, this, and this. And they went, yeah, okay. I mean, we'll interview you for one. It was like there was no money involved. It was just an interview. So then, after that interview, I thought, well, where shall I, what shall I do about this? Because this interview, I know they now think it's on the phone. And so I said to them, I want to do this interview, and they said, well, we can do it by phone, it's no problem. And I said, well, where are you? And they were like, New York. I said, well, you know what, I'm actually in the area around about that time, so I can probably just shoot over while I'm there. I had no reason to be there, no reason whatsoever. But I suddenly booked flights on a quick interview that is unpaid, which is insane when you think about it. Completely insane. Especially since I didn't even need to be there, but I knew I wanted to work here in some capacity. So then, I know that I'm now flying there. So what that does to my head is it says, shit, you've got to find more quality reasons to be there, otherwise this is going to be ridiculous. So I go, well, I think of someone I know who runs events in the US, and I go, listen, I'm going to be in New York. Why don't you put on an event and I'll speak at it? And he thought about it and he went, yeah, okay. So suddenly he starts promoting an event. I have, before long, 100 people in that event. Now I'm doing a seminar in New York and I'm doing this show. And on the show I'm like, I was doing this seminar here and I thought while I'm here I would, do your show. And then they said, well, we have this other show on Sunday. Why don't you come and speak on that? I go, okay. So now I have a show on a Friday, a seminar on Saturday, and another one on Sunday. Suddenly, this weekend in New York is looking pretty productive. I was in New York one day, and I woke up, and I was walking down the street, this beautiful sunny day, and I'm listening to music, and I can actually feel myself getting emotional, because all I can think of is, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, this happened out of nowhere. I'm not supposed to be here, and it's happening. It's now happening. When I was first introducing the idea of retreats into what I do, it was always my dream to run a retreat. To say, you know what, I'm going to do a retreat where we transform every single part of people's lives. We remove every part of their emotional block. We remove their confidence issues they've had for life. And we get in their head about everything they want from their life and we strategize it. Now, in my head at the time, it was like, well, we can do these in London. But I knew that would bore me. So I was like, I want to go somewhere. Where do I want to go? Where would be my dream to go and run an event like this? I go, okay, well, we could do one in Florida. Now, at the time, that was ridiculous. The idea of it was ridiculous. There were so many reasons why it was impractical. There were so many reasons why we shouldn't do it. But then I started calling people up and saying, hey, we've got this event coming up. It's in Florida. Every person that spoke to me and said, have you got, they would come on my weekend and they'd love the weekend. And at the end of it, they'd go, is there a next level? Is there somewhere else I can go after this? I said, well, we're actually doing one in Florida. Now, it didn't exist yet, but I wanted to see if people would respond to it. All I needed was one person to respond to it and say I'd be interested. And I got one person. So I booked the event. I booked my flights. I booked the villa. I said, I'm going to do it. Even if I get one person on it, I have done a retreat in Florida. So I accepted the worst case. The worst case is that I just get this one person on it and that's it. But I've now done it. That was the first time we ever did it, and we sold out every single one of the places. But I had to start by accepting that if I can just do more stuff in the area where I want more stuff will happen. Why am I at this event today? Because I couldn't fly to England for a 1-hour thing. In those early days, I'd have been here for this event, by the way. It didn't matter. I would have paid him to come and speak at this event. In the early days, I'd have called him up and I'd have said, how much can I pay you to come speak on your event? Right? Because I didn't care. I knew that if I did stuff in an area where I wanted more stuff would happen in that area. Now, I happen to be in Orlando at the same time as this conference is being held, and so, okay, I'll do this conference. And you know what will happen? From this stuff, more stuff. More stuff will come from this stuff. And that's the way life works. Just choose an area where you want more stuff, and more stuff will happen in that area. But take any opportunity, even if it seems ridiculous. Take any meeting, take any phone call, explore every avenue. When you're starting out, every single avenue has to be explored. We cannot afford to be too proud to say, oh no, that's not really something that I'm interested in. Oh, it might not go anywhere. We have to do everything. Everything. When I look back now, alongside the one or two things that really got me a lot more stuff, there were a bunch of things that I look back on and I go, oh my God, that's embarrassing. No, that was ridiculous. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I went there. But the combination of everything is what got me here. Just doing stuff. Any questions so far? In fact, what I'm going to do, I'm going to get you to save your questions to the end. How long do we have for, when you said half an hour, do we have half hour including questions or excluding questions? Including questions. Okay, so I'm against the clock. All right. In terms of, in NLP, there's a concept called modeling. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with this. The idea of modeling is that I choose someone who I'm going to emulate. I choose someone who I'm going to copy their beliefs, their attitudes, their behaviors, so that I can get the same result as them. Now, I have a few issues with this concept because I don't agree with the idea that everyone can be an Einstein. I think it's nonsense. But what I do think is that everyone can get extraordinary success by modeling successful people. I don't think everyone can be a Jordan or an Einstein or whatever, because the fact is we're all built differently. But we can get massive success by following other people who are successful, i.e. in business in this case. But here's the mistake people make. They're here. They're starting their journey and they go, oh, I've got to model. NLP tells me to model. It tells me to model successful people. I have to model someone successful in business. But the myth is that I should model the best. I should model the best, find the best. Why is it a problem to model the best? Why is that a problem? Why is it dangerous? Do we need to get microphones to people? Okay, let's get a few microphones around.
Because chances are you're not going to end up being the same person, the best right there where they are.
Okay, why not?
Well, there's already the best right there.
Okay, but isn't it useful to model that person? Isn't it useful to copy their strategies? We'll get the microphone to someone else while we're here. Just keep passing it around.
Because you can't actually talk to that person.
Right, so on one hand, how easy is it to access a giant? It's almost impossible. If I've got someone who's at the top of their field, how easy is it to actually model them? If you want to model a Richard Branson or a Donald Trump, can you go for lunch with them? You can read their book, but it's not quite the same. What else? Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I'm thinking is that if you try to model the very best and you don't live up to sort of the standard that they've set for you, then you'll get discouraged and you'll think that they won't, that isn't, that you're failing.
Maybe. What if they're so far in the clouds that I can't live up to it? What else?
You're limited to that one person.
So you're limited to their experiences and how they did it.
Right.
Okay. Next. And we have one at the front, one here, and one at the back. Yep.
I feel like if you have looking at that picture, it's almost like once you become as big as they are, if you ever do get there, you're going to limit yourself in your head. And
okay, so maybe that becomes limiting in itself. There are a couple of big reasons why it's dangerous to try and model a giant. One, their strategy was their strategy at the time and may be out of date. So if I look in my area, for example, if I try to model someone who's like at the top, at the very top, I look back at where they started, and at that time, the world was door-to-door sales. So I start modeling strategies like door-to-door sales, and I forget the fact that most stuff now happens online. So their strategy might be out of date. Secondly, If I try and model their what we call rituals right now, and rituals are things you do every single day or every single week to get where you want to go, if I try and model this person's rituals, their rituals now are not going to be the same as the rituals it took to get them there in the first place. Does that make sense? I read Donald Trump's book, and he had this like daily diary, and it was like, wake up, go play golf with the senator of this place. Next, go back, speak to my board of people about where we're going to plant this next year. Next, play golf with Tom Cruise. Next, do this, do that. And it was like, these aren't the strategies that got him there. That's what he's doing now in his life. Try and model that strategy now in order to become a property tycoon. It's not going to work. Their strategies now are also out of date. Next, how easy is it to get access to that person? Not very. Next, even if you do, they're looking back and giving you this idea of how they got to where they got. And it's rarely the real strategy. I was listening to this thing with Will Smith where someone said to him on an interview, Will, how did you get to be the biggest actor in the world or one of the biggest in the world? He said, well, let me tell you. I went to Hollywood and I said, I'm going to be one of the biggest actors in the world. That's step one. Next, he said, I rented the top 10 films of all time. And what I was looking for is the patterns. What's the pattern? What's the pattern? What's the pattern? What's the pattern in these films? What's the pattern in these films? He said 8 out of the 10 films I found were special effects films with creatures in. So he said, I know what I need to do. I need to do special effects films with creatures in. That was step 2. Step 3 was go and be the main role in some of the biggest films of all time with special effects films and creatures, with special effects and creatures. That was step 3. Then he said, afterwards, I decided I wanted to be nominated for an award. He said, so what I did is I looked at the last 38 awards that had been won for Best Male Actor. He said, so what I found, I'm looking at the patterns, what I found was 35 out of the 38 were played by people, were won by people who either played person with mental disability or an historic figure. He said, so I've either got to play person with mental disability or an historic figure. I played Ali, I got nominated. Now, I love this story, by the way, because it's great. It's a brilliant story. What a great story about his strategy for success. How much does that tell a young budding actor about what he really needs to do to get there? Day to day, what do? I've watched the top 10 films. Check. I've looked at where the biggest hits have been. Check. Now I don't know what it is, but there's something that happens in between deciding that and becoming the biggest role in the biggest Hollywood films of all time in those categories. Something happened in the middle there. Because I know he didn't walk up to the door of one of the big production firms and say, listen, you know you got this special effects film coming up with creatures in. I'm your man. And they went, well, hop on board. It doesn't happen like that. Something happened in the middle. When people look back, they don't know what got them there. What got them there were specific rituals. So when you are modeling someone, study the rituals of someone who is here. Study the rituals of someone that is here, because he can give you a strategy that you can actually follow. And he's so close to you that you can just track his progress every step of the way. It's the difference between trying to catch someone up who's already 5 laps ahead of you and just trying to keep pace with someone who's just ahead of you. You do not need to find a huge giant to get where you want to go. What you need to find is someone who's just a couple of steps ahead. I was in London and there was a street performer. And by the way, the way to get successful is study the rituals of someone who is there. But don't always worry about studying the rituals of the top person. If I try and if I want to get a good body and I start studying the rituals of someone who's like the bodybuilding champion of the world, and I start trying to study that, The problem is, he's going to sit down with me and he's going to go, here are my rituals. I get up at this time, I work out 3 hours. I then take these supplements. I then drink this much. I then eat this much. Foods I've never even heard about because he's trained himself to like those foods over a number of years and to know where to buy them and so on. There's vitamins I can't even get hold of unless I order them from a special place online. After that, he works out for another 3 hours, but he does very special workouts in a gym that I don't even know, with machines I don't even know about, because he's worked towards that over a long time. Now, if I want a better body than I have now, I don't need to model someone who is at the extreme of their game. I need to model someone who's a little bit further than me. Once I get there, I can model the next person. But study the rituals. Don't just look at the tip of the iceberg. Study the rituals that actually create that. I was in London and there was this street entertainer. And we were outside a pub in London. And everyone was standing around. And this street entertainer come up. And he had these 2 dustbin lids. So he grabbed these dustbin, does that make sense? Garbage can lids. He grabbed these garbage can lids and he slammed them on the floor. And suddenly everyone jumped out of their skin, everyone outside. No one knew he was a street entertainer. He then grabbed them and started banging them against the ground. And everyone was looking at this guy like he was crazy. And because they thought he was crazy, everyone started to form this huge circle. Right? Backing up, and this guy in the middle. He put down the lids, and as soon as he had enough space, he did this backflip and landed on top of the dustbin lids standing up on his hands. He then grabbed them and started spinning them and twirling them around him, backflipping, front flipping, doing all these breakdancing moves, this incredible stuff, and everyone was just like... And he kept going and going and going. There were 3 minutes, one of the best street performances I've ever seen in my life. At the end of the performance, he slammed the bins down. He put them upside down so that they could hold money, and everyone just started throwing money in, right? You know how people sometimes do it out of pity, like, here's a little bit. People were just like, I'm paying for that shit. And they were just grabbing handfuls of change and throwing them in. I grabbed like a handful of pound coins. I was like, take them. That was incredible. This guy wanders up to me, like this half-drunk guy. And he's got this beer in his hand. And he leans over and he goes, not bad for 3 minutes work, is it? You fucking moron. That's why you are not successful. Is because that is not 3 minutes work. That is the result of ritual after ritual after ritual that has got him there. That's where that came from. That 3 minutes is the result of probably half his life practicing those things. When we see someone at the top of their game, we see the tip of the iceberg. What we need to get to is the rituals that get people there. By the way, just so that you know, I've actually set up a place where you can go to study these things, to actually start to understand more about them, because obviously in any successful person's life, their life is successful not because of what they do as a one-off action. Their life is successful because of their rituals. Now, my whole work is a study of the rituals of successful people. What do successful people do as rituals every single day? Because I believe that the greatest power in life is if you can live with those people and actually watch and understand everything they do. Because if I truly want to model someone, I need to know what time do they wake up, what do they eat, what do they drink, what do they work on first, how do they use their energy, who do they go and meet, how do they meet them, how do they talk to them. I need to know everything. So in business, I need to know everything about someone. I've actually set up a place that you can go to start to study more about these things. If you go to this link, MatthewHussey.com, /21. MatthewHussey.com /21. I have two more points to make before I open it up for questions. One, in the beginning, don't worry about doing everything perfect. In business, don't worry about doing everything perfect. We all know, we've all heard the cliche, screw up, right? Screw up, make mistakes. We've heard that cliche. But we have to get into a mindset where we sometimes do something and then ask for forgiveness later. Just do it, just try it, and even if along the way you annoy a few people, even if along the way a few things go wrong, do it anyway. I have a friend who's a writer. He writes plays for Broadway in the West End in London. And one of the things that they tell writers who have writer's block is the key to getting over it is to lower your standards. The key to getting over writer's block is to lower your standards for what you're writing. Now, I would argue that in any area of life where you want to take a step up, sometimes it's necessary to lower your standards before you raise them. I know that's counterintuitive, but sometimes it's necessary to lower your standards before you raise them. In other words, let's say, for example, I know that one of the subjects this weekend has been talking to the opposite sex. Now, if I have it in my head, if my standard is that every time I go up to someone, every time I go and talk to this person over here, it has to be perfect. They have to not reject me. They have to be nice to me. They have to go out on a date with me. If that's my standard, how many people am I going to go up to in the average day? 0. Because if my standard is that high, I'm not going to do it in the first place. If my standard is that high for what I write, I'm not going to do it in the first place. If my standard is that high for what I create as a product or service in my business, I'm not going to do it in the first place. There is a phrase that I want everyone to write down. Voltaire said, "Do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good." Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Just start. Make it okay, then make it good, then when it's good, make it great, then when it's great, make it extraordinary. John Ruskin, a famous architectural critic, said there is a difference between effort and intelligent effort. Well, that's absolutely true, but it doesn't start with intelligent effort. You get intelligent effort by putting in effort in the first place. You learn what to say to someone when you go up to someone and you make a mistake and then you get feedback and then you adjust. But you don't learn from sitting on the bench. You learn from doing it. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. So, in the beginning, don't be afraid to lower your standards in order to raise them. Next, and lastly, before I open it up to questions, be persistent. Be persistent. Here's what I mean by that. Don't be afraid to get on people's nerves and keep asking for stuff. If you want more stuff, sometimes you have to get into an area where there's stuff, and sometimes you have to ask for stuff. Don't be afraid to keep asking. Don't think that you're annoying people. I know that when I started out, I was far too delicate. I would send someone an email, and if they didn't respond, I'd wait, and then I'd worry, and then I'd say, oh, maybe I shouldn't email them again, and so on. Now that I'm here, people will email me. In the last 6 months, I've had many requests for people who want to work with me. The people who send one email will rarely, if ever, end up working for me. And the reason isn't because I'm arrogant and I don't read them unless they email me again. The reason is I forget. Someone emails me and I get so many emails in a day that as soon as it gets shifted from the top of the pile, there's a good chance that I might not get back to it as quickly. Take advantage of people's lack of prioritization and keep sending your requests to the top of their inbox. What you want and the people you need to contact for it, keep sending your requests to the top of their inbox because people aren't very good prioritizers. So what will happen is, if it's there long enough, they'll just deal with it. They'll do something about it because it's there. And they'll forget about that other thing they were supposed to do that day that was far more important. Take advantage of the fact that people aren't good at prioritizing. And keep putting yourself at the top of their inbox. And be persistent, because the most successful people are the ones that you have to badger and badger and badger and keep trying and trying and trying in order for them just to even frickin' read what it is you're sending them. Never, ever, ever take it personally when you don't get an email back, when you don't get a phone call back, when something doesn't happen. Be persistent. And I'll wrap up this talk by saying that what I have found in business over the last few years is that it's been the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It's been really, really hard. I've found it difficult to start and to grow and to keep growing because I'm breaking new ground every step of the way. I've never done it before. So everything is new. And it's difficult, especially when you're relying on yourself and you're afraid that tomorrow, if it all goes wrong, you're screwed. It can be very daunting. But I will say this. It's better, if this is right for you, and I'm not saying it's right for everyone, because being an entrepreneur is not right for everyone. But if it's right for you, and you're unhappy in your current work, even though it's hard, the opposite is far harder. Because I'd rather be slaving away and breaking my neck doing something I wanted to do than doing something I don't want to do. Life is hard, whatever route you choose. I really believe that. I don't believe there's an easy route in life. Life is difficult, whatever it is you choose to do. So if all roads in life are difficult, you might as well choose the one that leads somewhere you want to go. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you so much. You don't know how much that means to me. Thank you.
10 minutes, Q&A.
Yes. Do we need a microphone?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thanks. Your speech was really inspiring. And I feel like even, if I'm not necessarily an entrepreneur, being a creative type who's trying to, I have things I want to move towards, writing or art or whatever, like stuff like that, it's very inspiring. And I think that I got a lot out of it. I think everybody can.
Thank you.
And the one thing I wanted to say is that, and I was thinking about what you were saying about, following rituals of people who are a little above you. My experience in the past has been that if I follow people who are a little above me and I don't choose carefully, I'll end up with people who tell me that things can't be done, right? So somebody who may be a little above me will say, well, you can only do as well as I'm doing. You can't do blah, blah, blah. I think I want to do something. They say you can't do that. And I have to ignore that, and then maybe look at somebody who's higher up and to realize that they're full of shit or something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's a really great question. What you have to remember is that everyone you model who's a little bit above you is only a little bit above you because they still have their own limitations. But you're not modeling them in areas where they haven't gone yet. You're only modeling them in areas where they've already got to. So the key is you model them to the point that they've arrived at and nothing more. Not one step further than that. Because if you go one step further than that, you're victim to their beliefs. Now, well, here's what will happen. I've been fortunate enough that one of my biggest mentors has always only been 2 to 5 steps ahead of me. So, but here's the thing.
He always believed that he was going to get much farther.
Well, he keeps going.
Yeah.
The beauty for me is that he keeps keeping pace with me. So every time I get another couple of steps bigger, he spent that time getting another couple of steps bigger. So the frustration for me in a good way is that I'll model him and I'll go, all right, I'm here. And then he'll be over there and I'll be like, oh, for God's sake. All right, so now I'll model him again. And he'll be over there and he'll keep going. He is still 5 steps ahead of me and it drives me crazy. So I keep going. The best scenario you want in life is someone who keeps ahead of you, not someone you catch up with. But naturally, what will happen is some people, you'll get to their level and they won't keep growing. So what you have to then realize is that all right, I've taken everything I can from this person, time to move on.
Right, I guess it's just you have to have a belief that you can go really, really high.
Yeah,
and
but in a
that's
way,
the one thing you can get from somebody who's really up there is that you can get places.
I want to thank you for saying that. Here's a point that I should have made. This person is not good for strategy, but they are great for inspiration. Does that make sense? This person is not good for strategy, but use them for inspiration. So when you look at them and go, oh my God, one day I want to be there, but don't model their strategy. Use them for inspiration, model the person directly in front of you for strategy. And I say that relatively because you could get someone 10 steps in front and it would still be great. But the further in front they are, the harder it is to get them. Whereas someone who's directly in front of you will likely allow you to get close. And when it comes to your peer group and the people you want to be around in life, proximity is power. So you need to be around people you can get closest to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, at the front here.
How do you go about finding someone who you'd like to model? And then when you do find them, how do you approach them and how do you go about actually modeling them?
Okay. There are a couple of things. One, look for any creative way that you can benefit them. There's someone in my organization now who in the beginning just said to me, look, I'll come and work for you, I'll come and help out, I'll come and, whatever I can do, I'll do. And he didn't ask for anything. He just said, let me come and do stuff. By being close to me, he's worked for me now for 2 years. He's got so much value, it's ridiculous. I have too, though. Right? Because he's helped me. He's helped me get to where I want to go. With someone that you want to model, the first question you have to ask yourself is, how can I help them get to where they want to go? How can I help them get to where they want to go? Because if you can't answer that question, why should they give you any value? And you want it to be a synergistic relationship. But the second thing is you need to have a belief that you can offer something of value. Even if you haven't got money, even if you haven't got money, you might have time. If you haven't got time, you might have connections. What can I give this person? Can I give them connections? Can I give them money? Can I give them time? Can I give them my personality? What can I give them? Because if I can answer that question, I'm solving that riddle. And there's a principle in psychology called reciprocity. Reciprocity. Give first, expect second. Give first, expect second.
And do you tell them also that you're looking to model them? Do you tell them also that you're looking to model them, or?
You can either be discreet about it or you can come out and say it. The giant, here's the thing. The giant won't if you try and give the giant an ego trip, by saying, I love you, I want to model you, I think you're amazing, it's not going to have that much effect because he's heard it a million times before. But if you give someone a couple of steps ahead of you that ego trip, it will work. So when someone's just a couple of steps ahead, you can say, I think you're brilliant, I'd like to learn from you, but I also know that I need to give you some value. What can I do to help? Yeah? Yeah. Fantastic. One more? One more question. We'll go, yeah.
It's pretty simple. What is your ritual?
What is?
Your ritual.
Every
day, like just a ritual.
Which one?
A typical day for you, I guess, a ritual.
Oh, that's like 50 rituals.
Oh, you have many rituals.
Yes. Here's the thing. With rituals are very specific. They're very, very defined. They are done consciously. You have habits and you have rituals in life. Habits are unconscious. A habit is like a tendency. I tend to wake up late. That's a habit. A ritual is every time I wake up at this time. When I wake up, here's what I do first. Here's what I do to put myself in a good state in the morning. Here's what I eat to give me energy before I start the day. Here's what I do to make myself feel like $1 million before I go out the door. Rituals are very, very specific. Now, I've spent a long time modeling rituals from other people. And when I say other people, I mean people who are a couple of steps ahead. And I've spent a long time modeling them, and that's been my entire success has come from that. So you might have a ritual. For example, I had a guy who was fantastic at networking. Fantastic. This is a guy who was not a superstar himself, but he was so good at networking and bringing incredible people into his circle. And I would see it every week, and I would want to know how to do it. I mean, I would literally get a phone call from this guy, and I'd say, what are you up to? Where are you? And he'd say, you'd never guess where I am. I'm in Nice right now, in France, and I'm having dinner with the original Luke Skywalker. I'd be like, what? He'd be like, Mark Hamill, I'm having dinner with Mark Hamill right now. We're going out to a club afterwards. And I'd go, how do you even know him? Like, how does that even happen? And I'd want to know, because I'd think, how do you meet these people? I went out with him on one night, and I realized what one of his rituals was. He would bring someone over. He invited me to an event. He was so well connected because of this ritual. He had an event at he was invited to an event at the Ritz Hotel in London. This beautiful hotel. Very, very expensive. He brought me in there, and he said, Matt, come along. There's going to be some great people for you to meet. So we sat down, and in comes this really, really, really wealthy, well-known guy. And not well-known in the famous respect, well-known because of his connections. Very connected in the political world. And he brought this guy over, and I won't mention his name, but he brought this guy over, and he sat him down, and he started talking to him. Now, this guy, somewhere in the conversation, made a comment. And my friend, the one that I thought was great at networking and connecting, I just got a tiny glimpse. This isn't a big thing. This is a tiny glimpse into his rituals. The guy said something, and my friend laughed. And he looked at me, and he said, see, Matt, he's one of us. See, Matt, he's one of us. The psychology behind that phrase is beautiful. Because this guy, who's more connected, more wealthy than the both of us put together, now feels part of our little club. He's part of our little club. See, Matt, he's one of us. And the guy's face lit up. Like, I'm one of them. Now he feels included. Now us three have our own little world inside of this event that we're in. How beautiful is that? One little ritual that will make you a terrific networker, and there are 1,000 more just for networking. Imagine how your life can change with simple rituals. And I mean it. Come see me. If you want to learn more about this, go to MatthewHussey.com. Come see me. Come speak to me. The link is MatthewHussey.com/21, because this is, I could spend the next 2 weeks doing this with you, and it's everything. So thank you again, and thank you for that wonderful, wonderful applause. That humbles me, so thank you.